Hello, this is Jeremy from gelsonic.com, home of royalty-free music, and I am looking for a new VST Synth plugin, and I came across this site, Music Radar, and this article about 25 best VST plugins, and basically I've downloaded some of these and some from other places, and I'm just giving them a quick try out, and that's the purpose of this video. It may save you a bit of time if you're looking for a VST synth. My main priorities is, how does it sound? Does it sound good? I'm looking mainly for kind of sort of ambient background textures, that sort of thing. I quite like a kind of analog type sound. I want it to be easy to use. Can I resize it easily? Can I find sounds easily? But equally, I want to kind of dig deeper and maybe learn a bit more about synth programming. I'm looking to spend maybe in the sort of £100 mark, and I'll stretch the budget for something I really like. And I am using Cubase 5, which is quite old, but most of these plugins seem to work in that. So without further ado, let's crack on with taking a look at these plugins. Okay, so the first synth I'm looking at is KV331 Audio Synthmaster. This is version 2.9. Okay, and the first thing that I probably want to do is see if can I resize it, as for my eyes it looks a little bit small. Now to do that, as on a lot of these synths, you have to access a right-click context menu. In this case, change global skin, and you can actually choose a lot of different skins. I'm going to use one of the default skins, but a little bit bigger, 120%. Okay, it tells me that I need to close the plugin and reopen for that to take effect, so let's do that. There we are, and here is a little bit bigger. Okay. Okay, so it's got quite a sort of full digital kind of sound, and we open here on the kind of preset browser, and we can choose like instrument types, currently set to all, so this list is going to show every instrument. But if I wanted to sort of narrow it down just to arpeggiated sounds, and you'll see that as I highlight different sounds, some of these words in the different columns will become highlighted, will become kind of bold to show what style or attribute it's in. So I could also click on those to sort of narrow down the sounds, and even by author, in fact. Just one slightly thing I'd probably change if I could. You can't click on these to toggle them. You have to go click on all to get back to the main list. So that it's just a slightly minor annoying thing for me, but anyway, I'm liking how it sounds. I am looking for something probably more kind of the sort of sounds I do are probably more background textured sounds, so I'm looking for something with a more analog kind of sound, but we'll have a look. I do like the general kind of sound of this synth. Let's have a look at some. Okay, so these. So I've selected bass. So are we on? Okay, so some of them are still arpeggiated as well as bass. So I suppose there's some crossover with some of these types. I think this comes with 1800 presets. Okay, let's go on to some, let's try some drum sounds. Let's look at some key sounds. Oh, okay, maybe some of these demo sounds didn't download or something, or didn't install. So it's got a very rich, full kind of in-your-face kind of sound. You can let's get a sound. Let's try maybe a pad sound. Something. Oops, more sounds it hasn't found. Okay, let's try. Now you can quickly make some edits using these kind of crosshair things. Let's try it on. And you can also do some quick edits with these buttons here, with these knobs here. You see my ASIO there. I'm holding down about 3, 4, 5, 6 notes. I think the CPU usage is pretty good on this because I'm holding, it's quite a detailed sound, rich sound, and I'm 6 notes I'm holding there, so it's quite good in terms of CPU. Let's try piano. And let's try some strings. Okay, and so if you want to dig a little bit deeper, you can click on these layer tabs here, and you can turn oscillators on and off, as you can see there. And you can also interact with these kind of graphs, drag things around. Turn filters off and so on. So there's quite a lot of stuff going on here. I don't know if I've got anything on layer 2. And you've got an effects section. You can edit effects. Let's try a bit of chorus. Bit of delay. LFOs. So there's quite a bit of depth, and so at this point I'd be saying, okay, what's the manual like? And if you right click, there is a PDF manual, and it looks quite reasonably, goes up to about 70 pages. Looks like quite a reasonable manual, which is good. And price-wise, this tends to go on offer quite a lot. It's currently down from $99 to $45, and you can upgrade from the Synthmaster player, which we'll look at soon, for only $29. And sometimes that's at a very good price as well. So it could work out cheap to get that and upgrade from that. But yeah, so quite a reasonable price. Okay, just to mention that the Synthmaster does have a standalone version as well, which is useful for live use, or you can fire it up without having to open your door, without having to open Cubase or whatever. And yeah, my impressions of this are generally favourable. I think it's a little bit daunting on the editing front because there's a lot going on there, and it's maybe a little bit difficult to see exactly what's what. So I think you'd have to spend some time with the manual with this one. But all in all, it looks like a very good synth for a good price. Okay, so let's carry on with the next synth. Okay, so next up we have KV331 Audio Synthmaster Player. Now this is it's a much cheaper option from KV331. It's basically a sound player with some basic editing, rather than a full-blown kind of synth. But it sounds great, and the demo comes with 500 presets, full version with 1800 presets. Okay, so let's first take a look at resizing it because it's a bit small, and similar to Synthmaster, right click and change the skin. Let's go to 120. Okay, I have to close, reopen, but it will remember next time I open it the size. Okay, that's a bit better. Should we try the next size up? Is it going to be too big? Okay, so let's just about squeeze that in. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's try out some of the sounds. So similar to Synthmaster, you've got these types and styles, authors. As mentioned before, you can't, for example, toggle these. You have to click back on all to get back to the main list, but it's just a minor thing. Okay, so let's try out some bass sounds. And you can do some quick edits here and with these controls, and that's pretty much it, I think, with the controls, apart from obviously you can save your own edits, which I think is disabled in the demo version, and then you've got effects here as well. You can turn on. What have we got? Let's try a different sound. Let's go into drum sounds, effects. Key sounds. Let's try piano. And as I say, you've got some effects here, which do I have to? Let's try phaser. Okay, we're getting something there. Turn them all on. So these are layer effects, which you can control the amount of send here, and then you've got like global effects. Let's try. We're going to get any echo there. Okay, a little bit. So a little bit of not the most powerful effects, maybe, but I think in terms of sounds, it is a great range of kind of usable sounds, and we'll look at the price. It's very reasonably priced. That, you know, you can make some quick edits too. You probably want to use your own effects plugins on them. And so I'm holding down sort of 6 notes there. And let's take a look. CPU isn't really moving much. 6, 7, 8 notes. Let's try another sound. CPU ASIO there's gone up a little bit, but it generally seems to be pretty good on the CPU. So yeah, great little sound source. Well worth having, I'd say. Again, Synthmaster Player currently going for $9 on special offers. Sometimes on special offer here. And also to mention that if you wanted one of the other Synthmaster products, for example, Synthmaster 2.9, you can upgrade from Synthmaster Player there for $29. So in fact, if you were interested in that, you could get the player for $9. Then that would be a total of $38. Whereas if you bought it regular price, it would be $45. So it can make sense to buy the player in order to upgrade to one of the other synths. And also, just to mention that it comes in standalone, which is great for sort of performance and not having to open up your workstation in order to play with it. Okay, so Synthmaster Player. Let's go on to the next one. Okay, so next up is KV331 Audio Synthmaster 1, and this comes with 1250 presets. It can be resized, as you can see. I'm trying to resize it in the corner, but I found it to be a little bit, this is the standalone version, by the way. I found it to be a little bit buggy in some ways. I don't know if that's just my computer, but so the standalone version, as you can see, I'm sort of trying to resize it, but there's also a way of resizing here, but I seem to have to restart it to get that to work. Also, I haven't been able to get this to work in Cubase. I don't know if that's because I'm running Cubase 5, which is quite old. So I'd advise trying this out before purchasing a demo version. See if it'll run in your DAW. It might be fine. Try the standalone version. I like the synth. I really like the layout. Everything is pretty much in this, seems to be in this one screen. It sounds good. It just seems to have a few little quirks that I'm not sure if it's, you know, whether it's on just my computer or some little bugs in there. Anyway, so let's just have a quick look. Similar to the other KV synths, you can browse sounds here, choose instrument type, attribute style. Okay, let's try. So we've got bass. Let's try. Is there anything in Baroque? Ah, okay. Yeah, I don't know quite how that's Baroque, but anyway. Now you can't toggle these again. You have to click back on all to reset them. Let's have a look at some drum sounds. Some key sounds. Some leads. Some pads maybe. Melodic sequences. Okay, so if we go back into the synth view, we can see we can easily turn oscillators on and off here, choose between different waveforms. You got this sub oscillator as well. And you got filters down here. Routing section here, effects. Everything seems to be laid out in this one screen, which is nice. Arpeggiator view. So I can click on notes by the look of it here. Let's try. Let's maybe try for something a bit ambient. Pad Galaxy. I think these blue dots indicate that they have modulation sources set. I'm not exactly sure, but I think. Let's have a look. You got your modulation matrix down here. There seems to be a lot that you can do with this synth, but I'm not going to spend too long on it because I just haven't been able to get it to work in my DAW. You can have a look at the manual here. Oops, what's going on there? User manual. Okay, let's just bring it over. And there's about 50 odd pages. It's a PDF manual, which is good. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really had a good look through it, but it seems to cover the main the main aspects of the synth. And as I say, it's got a nice clean layout. It sounds good. All seems to be in one screen. Price wise, $36 currently, reduced from $79. Again, you can upgrade from Synthmaster Player if you have that. But yeah, I think there's some difficulties with my DAW. I checked that out on your own before purchasing, but otherwise it sounds great. It looks very capable and is pretty good price. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, so now let's take a look at Yuhi Hive. Okay, and let's just resize it, right clicking here. Okay. Okay, so the first thing to notice, or the first thing that I like about this particular synth, seems to have a lot of visual feedback about what's going on as you play it. You hear some intermittent noise. That's just a feature of the demo version. It comes with the full version comes with something like 2,000 presets, I think. Okay, and we've got our oscillators here. You sometimes, I'm just left clicking, but you sometimes get a right click. You sometimes get a submenu pops up when you click there. Okay. 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 Let's look at some of the sounds on board. Okay. Okay. You can click here and you can select sounds here, or you can use this presets button. You can also search for sounds, which is useful. It's got quite a strong sort of digital kind of sound. That's quite nice sounding. And you see the CPU is quite low. My ASIO count down there is quite low. It's quite efficient in terms of CPU. Let's take a look at some of the leads. Pads and strings. So you can also look through different tags, different categories, and certain characters of sounds as well. And you can add sounds to your favourites. I think right clicking them, which is useful. And you got some kind of instant quick edits of sounds down here, which is again useful. See the ASIO is creeping up a bit there. Take a look at some of the loop type sound, some arpeggiated sounds. And you notice here you can see the sequencer moving along. You can also, I think, if you can drag some of these things, so some of these controls, so you can sort of change the sources of what's changing, which is quite handy. And you've got these different, you've got a sort of keyboard down here. Let's pick out, maybe, if we pick out, say, a strong kind of, quite heavy sound. Just want to test out the CPU usage. If I pick, say, a sort of pad sound that might use up quite a lot of CPU. So now I'm going to hold down 6, 8 notes. See the CPU is coming up quite a bit there. There's a little bit of crackle. There's a little bit of crackle there. So on some of the big sounds on my system, it's, you know, it is pushing the CPU a bit, but that's holding a lot of notes. Might be worth testing on your own system first before going for this plugin. That's actually, I think, the demo noise rather than the CPU there. And you access the user guide from a right click. That actually takes you to a folder on your hard drive, and then from there you open this Hive user guide, which is a PDF, which is handy. Okay, and it seems to be quite a detailed, 60 odd pages, seems to be quite a detailed manual. I haven't gone through it in much detail, but there seems to be a fair bit of detail in that manual, which is good. The UHE plugins, or certainly this one, doesn't come with a standalone, so you have to use it in your DAW. What else is there to say? Price wise, let's have a look. It's currently for €149. I haven't seen these plugins on offer or on deals, and looking around the forums, generally they don't seem to have many kind of offers on, so that's probably the price you pay, is what you see there. I'm just going to mute that for a second. Okay, so all in all, I like the sound and I like the look of this plugin. I like the way that it shows you a lot of what's going on. Everything seems to be in the one screen, apart from these kind of, you know, a few tabs down here, modulation tabs. There seems to be a lot of depth, a lot of exploring to do. And it's kind of slightly on the more digital side sound spectrum. That I'm probably looking more for a slightly more analog sounding synth, but this has certainly be one that I'll be considering. Okay, so Yuhi Hive 2. Okay, let's move on with the next one. Okay, so now to take a look at Yuhi Zebra 2. Okay, and we can right click on the name Zebra there and resize it to 100%. That's a bit better size. Okay, so we open in this kind of synthesis window and we can see oscillators 1 and 2, and I think you turn them on and off here, or no, you select them here, and you've got a noise generator, and okay, I'm trying to see if there's an easy way to switch them on and off. Maybe you just have to turn the volumes up and down, or maybe you switch them off and on. Oh, okay, I did. I'm just left clicking. I'm getting menus there. Is this to mute? Okay, so you mute them here. I'm not too familiar with sort of editing procedure. Okay, you can select the oscillators down here. It's not immediately obvious like some of the plugins that what's going on visually, so I think it'll probably need a bit of a delve into the manual to get familiar with it. Let's have a look at, talking of the manual, user guide. Okay, it opens a drive folder and there's a PDF, which is handy. So there we are. Zebra 2 user guide. Looks quite an in-depth manual. Okay. And let's take a look at some of the presets. Okay. Some bass sounds. Quite sort of unconventional naming of categories. You can rename these, which would be useful because I don't quite know what some of these mean, such as fillers. I don't know what that is. I think that might be pads or something. I like the sound of the synth. It's got a kind of rich and slightly softer organic kind of sound to me, and it seems to be quite legendary. Looking around on the forums, the Zebra has quite a reputation. Fillers, so I think that's maybe pads. Some nice pad sounds there, and you can see that the CPU there is staying quite low. I'm going to hold down. Let's see if can I get a keyboard on here. Does it have a keyboard? I'm not sure. Okay, but holding down like sort of 6, 7, 8 notes, the ASIO CPU isn't coming up that high, so it's very good on CPU. So keys. Organ tabs. Yeah, so there's our arpeggiator view. It looks like there's a lot, you know, a lot of depth in this synth, and so probably requires a good look through the manual. A lot of stuff. I'm not immediately kind of sure what's going on, but I think that probably means that there is quite a lot to it. And as I say, it's got a lovely sound. So this is definitely on my shortlist. It's got a lovely sound and it's very good on CPU, which is good for my aging system. I think it comes with, the Zebra 2 comes with over 500 presets. And you've also got this Perform. Let's try another sound. Yes, you've got this Perform area where, okay, doesn't seem to be doing much now, but you can sort of presumably use this in performance for changing various parameters. Okay, so all in all, yeah, it's one that I like very much. Price wise, it's currently on offer for €139, down from 199, and I think that's because there's a new 2.9 version coming, as it says here, so it might be worth seeing what's in that. It says end of November, so that should be any time soon. New version will be at a 30% discount, so I'll definitely be checking that out. Okay, so Zebra 2 from Yuhi, and yeah, let's carry on to the next synth. Okay, so next synth to look at is Synapse Dune 3. Okay, so first thing about the synth I notice is the sounds. The sound of the synth is quite. It's very kind of digital. It's very clear. It's very bright. It doesn't kind of have that analog feel of maybe the Zebra or the Hive. It sounds really good, but maybe for my purposes, looking for more kind of textures and backgrounds, this probably isn't quite the sound I'm looking for. But you know, this could be great for like dance, trance, and what do you call it, techno, that kind of stuff. It's kind of designed on a, as you can see, like sort of traditional synth, which in some ways is a nice, clear, familiar layout, and I find it quite simple to, you know, to sort of turn off oscillators and so forth, turn them up, because it's kind of that familiar kind of layout. But on the other hand, a lot of stuff is shown on this small screen. You can see the arpeggiator here. I don't know if you can make this bigger, or you haven't really had a detailed look of if you want to go further into some of these options. But from what I can immediately see, there's a lot of settings you can tweak here. There's not an awful lot of feedback maybe about what's happening, but that kind of traditional synth look, you know, has its pluses and minuses, I guess. But it's quite an uncluttered kind of look, quite easy to get sort of tweaking. I think the full version comes with 1,000 presets. Let's have a look at some of them. The demo here has got about 90. So arpeggiated sounds. The categories, it doesn't seem to have a category chooser. You just use these letters like AR for arpeggiator, BA for bass, and so on. I don't know if there's any other ways of finding stuff. Some drum sounds, key sounds. So it's got that very kind of digital sound. Some nice pads. Don't know if that's doing anything, but okay, I'm not exactly sure whether all the sound sources. I've got all the oscillators down, so maybe some sounds coming from somewhere else, but yeah. So some nice sounds on it. Yeah, so as I say, if you're having to use this little screen here, it's possibly a little bit fiddly.
Synapse audio.
Oh. So there's a quick look at. Okay, so these are sequences, I suppose, as opposed to arpeggiated pieces, textures. Yeah, so yes, now going on to resizability. This was a bit tricky. There was nothing on right click. I couldn't find how to resize the interface, and I couldn't find any links to the manual. So I just had to do a search on my computer and just bring up the Dune folder. Yeah, I couldn't find a quick way to get to the manual from here. There may be somewhere that I just didn't know or can't see. But anyway, there is a PDF manual, which is good. It looks like it's got a nice sort of set of bookmarks, and it runs to quite a few pages, over 100 pages there. And yeah, there seems to be quite a lot in there, quite an in-depth manual, which suggests there's probably quite a lot more to it than what you see on the surface here. Got some other tabs here with FX bus and various things, which I'm not quite sure what they are. But yeah, I don't believe, I didn't find a standalone version, so you have to use it in your DAW, I'm sure. Yeah, I should say I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, I couldn't find a standalone version of it. I think you can download things to run synths in standalone mode, but it doesn't come like that out of the box, so to speak. CPU usage, let's try big pad. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 notes. Seems pretty good. I'm holding a lot of notes. The ASIO there, ASIO indicator's not going up very high. So it seems pretty good on CPU. Oh yes, as I said, to resize it, it says in the manual that there are different skins. If you press the skin button, you can apply different skins which have different sizes. I mean, it actually opens at a good size, which is, I don't know if it just works out the size of your screen, but I can't find the button, the skin button. So I'm not sure about that, which, you know, I like to be able to resize things But yeah, apparently in the manual somewhere it says that you can resize it, but I'm not sure where that is. And as regards price, I think in its UK money is about 139 currently at UK pounds. Yeah, so I think it's not quite for me, but I mean, yeah, it's got a lot of good features. Okay, so let's move on to the next. Okay, so next up is Izotope Iris 2. Just waiting for it to load up. Okay, here we are, demo version. Okay, so the first thing I like about this is you get this big splash screen, which gives you links to library of new sounds, I think, tutorials, and the manual, which is great. So I always spend time looking for these things when I first get a synth. And it's easy to resize. Don't have to click in any menus, just drag it down to get a nice resize. And let's just have a quick listen. It's a demo version, so it's going to cut out sometimes. And it's got a really nice kind of warm, soft kind of analog sound, which I like. It's good for the sort of stuff that I like to do. And you can see there's quite a lot of feedback about things that are going on, which is good. You can see all sorts of graphs and that moving. Okay, now let's try a different sound. It does tend to be a little bit slow changing sounds, and I think because it's sample based, so you can load your own samples, and it's kind of based on editing samples to get the sounds. Maybe a reason that it's quite. You can see my ASIO there, ASIO usage. If I notch up to about, there we go, 6, 7, 8 notes. It is quite intensive on the processor. Let's try a couple of other sounds. Let's take a look at some basses. Power bass. See what that's like. What about one bass? Okay, let's look at some leads. Rhythmic sounds. Okay, and if we go back to pad sound. Okay, in terms of editing, you've got this kind of, what they call it, spectrograph or something, where you can, if I move these, or resize them perhaps. you can, I'm not hearing much difference there, but let's try another sound. Okay. So, yeah, so I'm sort of moving the, what's this? This is frequency, I think. Frequency selection tool. So I'm kind of changing visually the frequency of the sound, and you can use other tools, like you can sort of lasso bits on like that. Put a bit there. So here it changes while it's over that bit. Okay. Yeah, so it's sounding thinner there, and then it's coming in more bassy as it goes on. So that's kind of an interesting way of visually editing your sounds. That's just a real quick look at that. And let's try going back to another sound. Yeah, so I think there's okay, that's closing and opening tabs. Yeah, so I think there's quite a lot to this, and it's probably one where you'd need the manual. Wouldn't say that it's immediately obvious what's going on, but there does seem to be a lot of depth to it. And talking of the manual, it's here somewhere, I think. Yeah, help. Okay, and we have a great PDF manual, which is great. It's quite long. It looks quite detailed. I haven't had a good look through it, but there's also loads online. It's seems to be quite popular synth. There's loads of YouTube tutorials and videos on this, and also there is. Let's just mute this. It also comes with a standalone version, which is here. Okay, is this going to play? Oh, there we go. Let's go to a nice pad. Yeah, so standalone version, and you get a panic button. I like that. When sometimes a note gets stuck or something, it's quite handy to have a panic button. And how does this resize? Same, I think. Just drag it in the corners. Yeah. So that's great. You get a standalone version, and does it let us? Oh yeah, saving categories. That's good. Yeah, my one reservation, it does tend to be quite processor heavy and sometimes a bit slow in terms of the interface and sort of changing things. But I love the sound of it. I have seen this sometimes in terms of price. I've seen it sometimes it's being given away free, or it's in a deal on Plugin Boutique with, half price. I've seen quite a few deals. I don't know if it's perhaps a little bit older. I'm not quite sure what year it's from. So 2014. So there have been deals on this, but the price that we're getting here is $149. But I say it's worth shopping around for deals, because it does have deals. And I think this would be something I'd like to get, maybe not at full price, but I'd get it if it's going on a deal or something. Because, you know, your computer system, if it is a bit laggy and processor heavy, you know, you can't always upgrade your computer that often. So, you know, there is that to think about. Anyway, so that's Iris 2, and let's move on to the next thing. Okay, so moving on to Lennar Digital Sylenth 1. Okay, so first thing about this plugin, let's just take a quick look at my notes here. It's this has been around for quite a long time, and it seems to be hugely popular. It sounds great. I mean, let's just have a go through some of the. It's got a really full kind of fat sound. It's modelled on a traditional kind of synth, a little bit like Dune 3, and it's kind of.
Thank you for trying this demo.
Okay, that's the demo version. It's going to keep saying that. This is the demo version. Some of these things you can't save, and you can't edit certain things. The full version comes with about 2,500 presets. This comes with about 128. There's no standalone version, and I haven't found any.
Thank you for trying this demo.
I was going to say I haven't found any way to resize it, but I just have. So it's nice and easy to resize. There's no kind of right-click functionality to kind of get to a menu or anything, but I'll talk about that in a moment. But just going through some of the sounds, it's kind of got this categorization. You know, there's no category menu. It's a bit more basic, arpeggiated sound. ARP written here. You've got your oscillators 1 and 2 here. There doesn't seem to be an oscillator on-off button. I think you have to just use the volume control.
Thank you for trying this demo.
And then there's also this part B, I think, so oscillators that might be. Yeah, there we go. It's a little bit fiddly knowing what's going on. There's not much feedback on screen, so you have to kind of move between these part A's and B's sometimes. There may be an easier way that I'm not aware of. It's very good on processor. I mean, you can see that the ASIO is hardly moving. I'm holding down 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 notes. Very good on processor. Very quick to respond. A lovely sound, very sort of analog, warm, rich sound.
Thank you for trying this demo.
Yeah, what else to say? Let's try some of the bass sounds.
Thank you for trying this demo.
A few drum sounds there. And you got these. The sounds seem to be loaded into these banks here. Okay.
Thank you for trying this demo.
So it's quite easy to get carried away with the wonderful sounds in this. So editing is kind of, as you can see, edit these controls. You've got modulation sources and so forth. Sounds, as I say, 2 oscillators and another 2. So I guess that's, I think you can have, yeah, both parts can be played together. So it's kind of 4 oscillators, I think. Mixer here for different oscillators. And then some of the other editing, like for example, if we switch on the arpeggiator, that will be done down here. You've got oh, okay, I think I have to turn it on first. Yeah, I haven't played a great deal with this, but ear effects, EQ, delay, reverb, compression. So because it's designed like a kind of hardware synth, it does mean that it has some of those limitations of using the small screen for some editing and using these quite small controls and quite small text. You've seen it can be resized, but yeah, I mean, sound-wise, it's great. In terms of manual and so forth, I couldn't find any way to link to a manual from the interface, so I just had to manually go on the website and download the manual, which I have somewhere here. Right, there we are.
Thank you for trying this demo.
And let's just mute that for a moment. and it's a fairly sort of brief manual. But then again, I think there's probably not too much to learn about this particular synth. As I say, it's been very popular. There's loads of stuff about this online and loads of tutorials, and people love it. I think obviously because of the sound. For me, the interface is a little bit challenging, but it's all in all a great synth. Price wise, it's let's have a look. So we've got downloads on that page. I think it's around about just over 100. Just over £100. Store. Okay, yeah. So, okay, €139, or you can have it on this kind of monthly thing. So it's slightly more on the expensive side. I think there are some offers for it now and again, but it's a real classic. I think it's one that I'd like to have. I don't know if it would be sort of my very first choice, but certainly I think if it came up on an offer, I would be going for this, just on the basis of its sounds, if nothing else. So Sylenth one. Let's move on to the next synth. Okay, so next up is VPS Avenger. Okay, and I have to say, I got a bit frustrated when I first loaded this synth. It loaded really big like this, and I couldn't figure out how to resize it to fit in my screen. Eventually, I found this little menu here, and 70% works quite well. If you download the demo, there's also about nearly... Okay, sorry about that. That's the demo making a intermittent noise. Yeah. There's also, you download the demo, there's also a nearly 5 gig content file. And yeah, so it's fair to say for me, I think that some of the layout and the way this works is a little bit different to other synths, and I don't know why that is. Whether it was originally designed for Mac, I don't know. But anyway, also to get the sounds, where's all the sounds? Oh, I had to click this. And presumably that's because you can have, so these are factory. I guess if you have your own, you have different groups. I also find some of it a bit hard to read. But anyway, let's have a little listen to some of the. Another thing, you don't just click on the sounds; you have to double click, which is a little slightly unusual. I was there for quite a while, thinking, why don't the sounds change? But beyond some of the interface frustrations that I've had, the sound is great. It's slightly more perhaps on the digital kind of sound rather than analog for me. Slightly more of the kind of hard sounding. There's quite a lot of feedback you can see going on here. I don't know if I can just let's go into maybe let's try something else. Okay, so if I put on here, okay, I can see the arpeggiator going there with these I find some of these a little bit kind of small and hard to read, these tabs, but and also I find this a little bit hard to read because you've got these letters sort of in the background of whatever the sound capture is. Okay, let's have a look at some drums. Okay, that's interesting. So you've kind of got some ready-made kind of beats and kits, which is this could be quite handy. I'm not sure how that's triggered, whether it's through MIDI files or whether it's just an arpeggiated sequence. Drum sequence. Okay, so you've got kind of. Well, that's a very interesting kind of thing I haven't seen in many other synths. Sounds great. Yeah, it sounds really good. So you can kind of get straight on with production, I guess. Although I tend to prefer to do things like this in my DAW rather than in a plugin. But okay, let's see what we have in maybe something like a big kind of pad, or maybe a lead. Let's see what there is in lead. Let's have a look at pads. So a nice PD ice pad, that sounds good. Okay, a nice big pad. Holding down 6, 7, 8. No, it's pretty good on processor. I mean, there's not much uplift on the ASIO there. So it seems pretty efficient. It's pretty quick. You know, it moves, apart from having to double click. It loads quickly, and it's very fast as an interface. You click things, they happen pretty instantly. It's not kind of laggy, so it looks like it's very efficient. It looks like it's got loads going on. I mean, you can see all these kind of and that's quite a good piano sound for a synth plugin. There's heaps of dials and lots to explore there. There's the white noise again. Yes, now in terms of a manual, okay, I had to go away there for a sec to find the manual. I couldn't find any way right clicking to get to the manual on this. So I went to the website and I've downloaded it, and here it is. It's quite a whopping manual. I suspect there's quite a lot to this synth, 106 pages. And yeah, I haven't looked at this in depth, but there really is a lot going on here. So yes, my general feelings, I think some of these synths that kind of look like a real world hardware synth, I think, is it fair to say that because of that they lose out on some of, because they're kind of looking like a hardware synth, they're losing maybe some of what you get from a computer, the way that computer windows can resize and jump out and change and all that. I mean, saying that there is different tabs and that sort of thing, I think they've crammed a lot in to this interface, which I find maybe on a bigger monitor it would be easier to use, but I find it a little bit overwhelming, a little bit intimidating. I think I'd be resizing it a lot to try and read some of this text. I mean, there may be something in the manual that allows you to sort of make these jump out or something, but I find the interface a little bit full on, a little bit different to other synths that I've looked at, or just the way that I tend to intuitively work. I think the sounds are great. Price wise, we're looking at about 175 for UK, so not super cheap, and I kind of, the sound's perhaps a little bit too, it's probably not aimed at my kind of music. It's more sort of dancey, trancey, that kind of thing. So yeah, not quite for me, but well worth a look. And let's move on to the next synth. Okay, so next up we have Reveal Sound Spire. Now the first thing about this, because it opened a little bit small, I wanted to resize it, and I got a bit frustrated, I have to say. I was right clicking, I was hovering in the corners. That's the white noise, because it's a demo. And I didn't know where it was. Finally, I found this little menu here, this little button that says menu, and you went down here. But then there was only kind of a couple of options. So both of these were a little bit kind of big. I've actually got two screens. I think only one is showing up on the recording, so I could have that size, but it's kind of split between two screens. I'd like to see more sizes, and 200 is going to be too big. So there we are. Anyway, then the first thing, let's have a little listen. Very kind of digital sound. Not masses of feedback about what's going on. I can see there's an oscillator one there, and that's nice. I can easily turn off and oscillate off and on oscillators, which is good. It's kind of a more basic chooser. There doesn't seem to be any categories. Sound chooser. So you've got SQ sequence, presumably. And it's you can hear it's a very kind of digital sound. As I've mentioned before, I'm looking for more textures, more kind of analog type sound. I suspect this is more aimed at you kind of, your trance, your dubstep or something. Hardcore rave, that type. More electronic rather than it's a kind of texture analog type synth. So it's quite a hard sound. So I think I kind of decided it's probably not for me. But on the plus side, that's a bit more my thing, I guess. In terms of editing, it seems fairly straightforward, but I don't see a lot of movement in to immediately know what's going on. But it's a reasonably uncluttered interface, so I think it'd be quite, it's not too overwhelming, which is nice. So I guess after a while you'd kind of get to know what's going on and maybe edit sounds quite easily, as I seem to be here. I've turned everything off. And in terms of is there some kind of sequence editor? I'm not sure. I can't see anything obvious that shows me like a kind of yes, got something here. Okay, and I can drag and drag. I'm I'm just dragging and clicking randomly here, but maybe a little bit kind of small area to edit. So yeah, now in terms of manual, this was another source of frustration. I couldn't find right clicking, I couldn't find a manual. Finally, I thought, it might be under here. I couldn't find any link in here to a manual, which was disappointing. I eventually went onto the website, and it was actually, I couldn't even find it on the website. I eventually did a Google search for Spire manual and eventually tracked it down. Maybe I was just looking in the wrong place, I don't know. But anyway, there is a manual. It's quite brief, so it suggests that maybe it is quite simple, and that's not to say that it isn't powerful, but maybe there's not masses to learn, but it does look like it has a lot that it can do, and I think it'll be one of those where if the sound suits you, then it'll be a good choice. It's not really for me. I've had a few issues as I mentioned, but yeah. In terms of CPU, you can see there holding 6-8 notes. It seems very good on CPU. It's very everything is very fast about this. I suspect it's very, you're not going to have any issues with CPU. Creeping up a little bit there, but yeah, it seems to perform quite well. And price-wise for Spire, it's currently I think it's on offer $129 from $189. But again, you might find offers for it on Plugin Boutique, that sort of thing. And you're just going back to the manual. I think you have to scroll down here, hit knowledge base, get this page, and then you can get the manual. But there was a bit of a hunt around for that. So yeah, that's just the sort of current price of it at the moment. And it doesn't have a standalone mode. You have to use Spire in your DAW as a plugin. Okay, so moving on with XferRecords Serum, and here we see a very sort of clean, simple looking interface. Got a little bit in the corner there indicating we can resize. That's great. I wish more plugins would do that, and also just let you know by putting a little squiggly, a little couple of lines there which indicates you can resize it. This only seems to resize in sort of in one aspect ratio, so you're kind of a little bit limited. You can't kind of stretch it this way, but anyway, it is resizable, which is good. And let's have a little okay, that's an init sound. Let's go to let's try bass sound. So quite a lot of feedback about things going on there, and it looks like you can kind of tweak it quite quickly. Comes with 450 presets and 144 wavetables. So I think it's wavetable based, which means each oscillator, you can load up a kind of wave, and then and then sort of, and then you can load your own waves as well. And easy to turn oscillators on and off, which is good. There's your filter. I don't know if I'm kind of changing. I'm sort of clicking on that. I don't know what I'm really doing, but anyway, it's got very kind of digital kind of bright, slightly hard sound. Again, probably aimed more at the sort of techno electronic crowd. Seems very fast interface. Seems I'm holding down about kind of 8 notes there. Fairly good on the processor, I think. No kind of glitches or anything like that. Nicely laid out, very kind of clean interface. Lots of visual feedback, as you can see, about what's going on. And let's have a look at some other sounds. Yeah, very. Is there anything a little bit more? Okay, you can see the ASIO creeping up a little bit there. It's quite a detailed sound, quite a big sound, I guess. I want to slightly click, a couple of clicks. But yeah, can I just tweak this? How easy is it to tweak? Oh yes. Oh, that's the envelope. Okay. So very tweakable. Got an effects tab here. Switch off the reverb, switch off the delay, switch all those off. You got a modulation matrix, so I guess you can see what's affecting other things, and that looks very, yeah, global settings there. Sequences, which is, I guess, there's some very complex feedback there, but I couldn't find anything that was obviously a arpeggiator editor, if you know what I mean. Let's have a look. Unless it's this, I don't know. Is this is saying LFOs, so I don't know. Can I move that around? Can I turn it off? Don't know. Yeah, I can't see anything that's obviously an arpeggiator editor, but it may be there somewhere. I just haven't found it. Sound-wise, I don't think it's quite for me because, as I've mentioned, I'm looking for something a bit more analog sounding and more for textures and moods. But this is, you know, certainly going to be great for people that producing something more electronic, I think, or techno-y. And everything is really nicely, cleanly laid out. It looks like it'd be quite easy to get to grips with. Talking of which, there's a nice link to assume website and everything else, and to the manual. And yes, we get a nice PDF manual, which is nice, and they've got bookmarks in it as well, which is nice. I think it's quite reasonably long, about 70 pages. It looks quite detailed, so that's nice to see. There isn't a standalone version of it as far as I'm aware. And in terms of price, it's currently at $189. And as I mentioned before, there may be you may be able to get deals from various websites and so on. So yeah, I think for certain music styles, this is going to be great. I mean, it's a great interface, lots of feedback, very clean, uncluttered, and looks like it's got heaps of power. Not for me, I think, but yeah. Okay, so let's move on to let's just have a quick look at this section, which is your sort of category chooser, which was nice. You can search sounds rather than just clicking here through this menu. You've got this kind of category selector. So just a single click opens up sounds, and as you can see, they load up pretty quick. So there's XferRecords Serum, and let's crack on with the next plugin. Okay, so next up we have Audaire Zone. Okay, and the first thing I'd say about this, I wanted to resize this. It looks very small, text is small. I need things a little bit bigger. Maybe it's my age, but I can't find how to resize it. Right clicking. Okay, what's this? Anything here? Okay. Oh, same thing. Yeah, I can't find anything. Anyway, so maybe there is a way, but I can't find it. Let's have a little listen anyway. Okay, I think that's a kind of initial default sound. So from the sound of it, it sounds quite geared to sort of electronic, techno-y, dance kind of styles. As I say, I'm looking more for something in the analog kind of textures kind of area. So perhaps not quite for me. Okay, so I think I have to close it. I can't just double click that. It won't go. I have to close that. But there's a fair bit of feedback. We can see stuff going on here. And create new lane. What does that do? Okay. And can I double click? Okay, I can change the wave types here. Okay, so this also, is that on? Let's turn that one off. What's that called? Okay, I'm a bit confused about what's going on. It's not unusual, I know, but let's try some other sounds maybe. Oh, you can go through this. It's just impossibly small for me. I really struggle. I just would get very tired quickly with this. But it sounds nice. It's got, it's got good sounds. It looks like it has a lot of functionality. Azio's creeping up a bit there. I'm holding down 3 notes. Holding down 6 notes. Let's try maybe is there like a pad sound? Something. So you see the Azio creeping up. It's still holding pretty well, no kind of glitches or anything. This comes with 590 presets. This is another one where I struggled to find the manual, but I just did a search and it was actually installed onto my hard drive, but I couldn't find any kind of link to it, unless it was... it is actually there. Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's quite a short manual, runs to about 50 odd pages. So I'm guessing that it's not masses to get your head around, which is maybe good or bad depending on how deep you want to go into these things. Yeah, so I think all in all, it's not one for me because of the sort of accessibility, usability issues. Sounds not quite my area, but I could see it being useful to some. In terms of price, it's currently at £89. Okay. So yes, there we go. That's Audaire Zone. Okay, so on with the next one. Okay, so now let's take a look at Artoria Pigments. Okay, so the first thing is let's just resize it down to 80%. Okay, yeah, that fits quite well. Okay, so the first thing I noticed about Pigments is it looks amazing. There's kind of loads of things going on. There's loads of feedback about what's happening with the sounds. There are kind of 2 sound engines here that you can easily turn on and off, which is good. And then each sound engine has a choice of a kind of traditional analog type synth, or you can have a wavetable, and then you can choose different wavetables here. Okay, so yeah, so immediate impressions. The sound wise, for me it's slightly more digital sounding than say Yuhi Zebra or say Izotope Iris 2, but it still sounds really good. Slightly kind of slower maybe in the interface to load sounds, and possibly slightly higher on CPU. We'll take a look at that later. But generally, I still like the sound, and let's take a look at some of the different presets. It looks like they put a lot of effort into making easy to use and navigate, which I like. For example, here you can choose, so we choose a category here, bass for example, and then we'll choose a bass sound. And now, instead of having to keep going into that category, all the sounds here now are bass sounds. So you can click on that, or you can just go through with the little arrows here. So it's really easy to kind of navigate through the sounds. Let's take a look at some of the keys. What's nice, you can sort of grab these graphs and drag them around. Also, if you click on any of these small graphs, you can see stuff going on, and they kind of expand into bigger graphs, which is really nice. So you're not constantly working in like small little windows that are that are fiddly to use. Okay, let's take a look at some of the pad sounds. Now you see the ASIO, I'm holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The ASIO does creep up a bit on some of the bigger sounds. So maybe slightly heavier on the CPU than some of the plugins I've looked at. But I don't think it'd be a problem unless you're using a lot of instances. Might be worth checking on your own system, see how it performs first. Sequence sounds, let's have a look. Load up the sequence view here. It's quite easy to edit. Okay, and some of the string sounds. Also got effects panel here with the chorus, reverb, delay, and which looks kind of easy to edit. So there's like 6, 8 notes there. Let's just put the keyboard view on. So, generally, I really like this. I really like the layout it looks like you could delve deeper quite easily. You have an onboard tutorial, which I haven't really looked at, but it'd be a useful thing to have. You've got these filters here, so you can search for sound types and search strings in, and then sort of narrow it down by type or style. And it even shows you pictures of the sound designer if you hover over this. So let's take a look at the manual. You get a PDF manual which runs to about 170 odd pages, and that looks to be pretty in-depth. I haven't had a good look through it, but it seems to be a pretty in-depth PDF manual, which is handy. You don't have to go looking online for the manual. And let's just mute this for a second. We also have a standalone version, which I'm just going to fire up. Okay. Just randomly picking some sounds. So a standalone version is very handy. You know, you don't have to fire up your DAW each time you want to use it. Especially useful for just kind of playing around or for sort of studying. Okay, price wise, it's selling from the Artoria site currently for €199. That's about £170. I have seen it for around £120 on some sites, and I think there's often deals on it, so you might pick it up cheaper. So yeah, generally, I really like how this is laid out. I like how it sounds. The kind of CPU usage, but I don't think that's a big issue, and I think this is probably on my shortlist, probably my number one shortlist at the moment, mainly because of the kind of layout of all the kind of different graphs and knobs and sliders, etc. It looks like it will be kind of easy to get into the sounds and into the synth and edit it. So yeah, Artoria Pigments. Okay, I hope this video has been useful. Please click on the like if it has. Please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to get updates on new videos. And thanks for watching.